Lollipop. It's not just for suckers. On Amigos, everything Amiga. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Lollipop.
Yeah.
Aaron, are you a big sucker guy? Do you like a good lolly once in a while?
Depends on who you ask if I'm a sucker guy or not. I've been suckered a few times. Boy, one huge time. That's a whole other story.
No, it's not. Let's talk about it. What was the biggest time you ever got suckered?
Ask me another 5 years, Bo, and I'll talk about it then. No, but I do like a good lolly now and again. You know, I've always been a big fan. Back when I was a kid, you get the old dum-dums. I don't know if I get they still have those.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about the dum-dums.
The bank, yeah.
Oh, yeah, at the bank. They used to give those out. I forgot about that,
Yeah.
Bode. And I particularly like the mystery dum-dum, where they just wrap it with, say you don't know what it is.
I always, I always got the mystery too, and it seemed like it was always good. My favorite flavor of dum-dum is the peach. I like the peach flavored dum-dum.
I like the pineapple. Actually, it's quite good.
Yeah, it's got a tang.
And the root beer is good too. You know, do you ever get one of those big, huge suckers? The big, like the Wizard of Oz, ultra sucker.
Those are tough to manage. I always end up just biting it. You know, you just got to get in there and bite it off.
Yeah, the problem with those things too is like sometimes you're eating them and like crap will get stuck on them.
That's
true.
Huge. Yeah.
You know, and also that can't be good for anyone to eat that much of whatever. Like, what is a lollipop? Just a bunch of sugar? I
think it's just sugar that they've caramelized down into a solid form. So
suckers are a lot like gum. It's like you eat them, but like I don't know how they work or where they come from. I'm not sure. I want to know.
I hate gum. First of
all, did they have suckers? Like, when did the sucker come around? Have those been around since like the cowboy times?
Well,
or like medieval times?
I think suckers had their root in rock candy. You know, when you go to like Bob Evans or someplace, they're selling the rock candy on the stick.
Yeah. Do they on that stick?
Yeah. Get your rock candy.
Isn't that a sucker when they do it that way?
That's what I'm saying. I think in cowboy times, rock candy on a stick basically became a sucker. Then they figured out how to add more different kinds of flavors to it and make it different colors, and then boom, that's it. That's how it was made.
You ever get that rock candy?
Yeah.
You know, where they just break it up and then
Yeah. I mean, I like pretty much any sort of sucker-derived product.
Yeah, I believe that. You know, as you know, actually, I'm not a big sugar guy.
What I don't like is have you had those? They're like the original gourmet lollipops. They're almost like a cue ball in circumference.
Oh yeah.
I don't like those because unlike your big round suckers, you can't bite those off. And you're stuck just holding this thing that's never going to wear down. It's like an everlasting gobstopper that you can't just stick in your mouth right away.
It's funny that as I look over to the chat, there's a guy commenting called Jawbreaker. He's giving us his sucker interpretations. I find it amusing. Here's the thing about these suckers that I don't like. You ever get one of these things, and you like open it up, you get a big lick on that thing, but it's not a sucker. It's like someone stuck a stick in a big sweet tart. You know what I mean? The sweet tart ones. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't know there were sweet tart suckers.
You know what a sweet tart is, right?
I know that you don't like sweet tarts, but I am partial.
I mean, they're okay, but I mean, when I take a big lick of something, I don't want it to be sour. That's weird.
You're more of a sweet. What did you ever get into the warheads, all that sort of thing?
I don't like real hot stuff or real sour stuff.
Okay.
I guess I'm kind of lame.
Probably if I could, my most desirable candy, my grail candy was this thing when I was in 6th grade, Terminator 2 came out. Okay.
Yeah, oh man, what a movie that was, eh?
Yeah. And Terminator 2 stuff was everywhere. It was like episode 1 levels of crap everywhere. Okay?
Except way better than episode 1.
Which is hilarious because it's definitely an adult movie that was heavily being marketed to kids.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had these things called T2 Sour Meltdowns, okay?
Yeah.
And they came in this dish, almost like a mint thing. But inside, there were these little spheres that were the size of Dippin' Dots. You ever get Dippin' Dots when you go to the mall?
The boy gets them occasionally.
Yeah.
I don't get it with the Dippin' Dots.
They were so sour. It felt like it was burning a hole in my tongue. It was that sour.
And I've never enjoyable for you?
Well, it's sort of like a hurt so good kind of feeling, you know.
You know, this is sort of a cliche, I guess now. But did you ever? My grandma used to go. I'd go to her house, and she'd have one of these crystal dishes,
Yeah. Yep.
and you always hoped because there was candy in that sucker, and
Mhm.
you hoped it was a good candy. But often they'd have that ribbon candy in there. You know, I'm talking about the ribbon
Mhm.
candy, and it'd
Yeah.
been in there for so long that all the candy had become one giant
Congealed mass.
blob of candy. And so you didn't even want it, but here you are trying to break a piece of this ribbon candy off. Then it sucks when you
My
eat it. No good.
my favorite kinda candy that comes in the crystal dish is the strawberry. It's wrapped up to look like a strawberry
Oh
with the
yeah,
green on the top. It's got a
I got
little
those at
strawberry jam in the middle.
yeah, I got those at work because those are a staple of the old Dollar Tree. You get a
Mm.
bag of those. Now it's a buck and a quarter or whatever. You get a
Mhm.
bag of those things. They're pretty good. It's almost like eating hard candy, but there's a little treat in there.
That's right, that's
You
right.
know,
Let's talk about Lollipop, Aaron.
there's a little treat in this one too, but
Absolutely.
Lollipop Boat. Had you heard of this
Yes.
one?
Oh.
I hadn't
Oh.
either. I'm real surprised. I mean, we do this. How many long we been doing this now? Going into our ninth year or
Mhm.
whatever. And every time a game like this comes along, I'm like, how the heck did I never know about this game? And I mean, I never heard nothing about this game. I never saw anybody play it. So I was surprised.
Well, I
So
think the fact that it did not get a release outside of its native country had something to do with it.
yeah, I suppose. But then again, we're in a country where nothing got released hardly, so
True.
we should know something's going on.
Non-factor.
Don't let Doug hear you. There'll be another hate video. So, Lollipop, published in '95. I will say this was not an original Amiga game. This actually came out on DOS the year before, '94. Developed by an outfit called Brain Bug. And really, this is all they did. They're credited with another game, but I'll explain why that's this game later on. This was copywritten, or this was published by Rainbow Arts. You know them. We've covered a bunch of their stuff: Guyana Sisters, Muds, Rock and Roll, Turrican, X Out, going on. Um, these guys, I think, were from Denmark. Boat. Now, get this.
Okay.
This whole game is based on a character that was made up by Oleg Morgensen. I could get his name. He also was. I mean, these guys sort of like intertwined on what was going on in this game. So he also helped with the map design. He was the project manager. This was coded by Morton Rupp. The O has a little gimmick in it, whatever that thing's called.
Umlaut.
Graphics in this, now, and the graphics in this are I would call quite good.
Yes.
Jacob Anderson, he of Banshee fame. So if you
Okay.
played Banshee, he also did the ever popular Cover Girl Strip Poker. One of these days we'll get to that one, Bode.
One day.
Now, here's the big star. I mean, listen, the game's got good graphics, great graphics, but the king dong of this game, in my opinion, is the music in this. So the music is listed as being performed by the Vibrants, which were apparently comprised of Torben Hansen and Thomas Morgensen, and the music was performed, according to the documentation, by Jesper Olsen. Oh, we've actually played a couple of his offerings, Boat. He did those crazy train games we covered, that Gilcorn Expressin and the
Oh,
Callous
okay.
Puffs Expressin, which, as I recall, those have pretty good music too.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple players in this that were not like, these aren't just some schmucks, I guess is what I'm saying. When this was released, Bode, this came on 5 big discs, brother, the big 5.
It's a lot of discs.
Now, luckily, by the time this came out in '95, where some people at least had hard drives for their Amigas, this did have a hard drive installer, which I would recommend because that's a lot of discs to be swapping around, Bode. So this comes up with a little tune, and some credits. It's nice. The options screen. What'd you think of this? What was your initial impression when you popped this sucker in, Bode?
Oh God. It's another Euro platform.
Yeah, but the music didn't captivate you or anything when it came up. Rainbow Art, nothing.
Well, I mean, you're asking me for my very first impressions.
But did you
That
think
was
that
it.
when you saw the category for this week? Is that
No,
what-
no, I gave it a fair shake.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make any assumptions before I actually turned it on. But within the first 5 seconds, that was what I was thinking.
So there's a couple things we need to get into before we talk about the game proper. As far as we can tell, and I think we're pretty safe when we say this, but this never had a. Not only did it not have a U.S. release, but I don't think it ever had a release in an English-speaking country because
Yeah, which
the
is
document.
odd because
Yeah,
this is a game that does not exactly require any cultural boundaries or anything. This is a pretty
no.
universal style. I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't want to release this outside of where did you say this came out?
Well, I believe it was made in Denmark.
Hmm.
I think the documentation's I believe it's in German. I
Okay.
think that's what I
Okay.
read. It's funny because this could have literally been released in any country, England, any English speaking country with actually nothing done to it. It would have been
Right.
fine because all
Right.
the stuff in it's in English, and it's not like boats. It's not that complicated. So the plot of this game, as best I can make it out using some various sites to try to figure it out. Lolly is a doll. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're basically
Clockwork
playing
Doll.
a doll. It was animated by a stroke of lightning, right? That old shtick. The old Jason Voorhees and Frankenstein's
I
monster.
think she's animated by winding her up in the back.
No, no, I'm just as verbatim that this is how she became a person. She's a real
Oh,
person.
she's a real person.
She's a real
Okay.
she was a doll, Bode, but now she's a real person. I think I've
Oh,
seen some celebrities that are like that. So
okay.
when you animate a non-living doll, what do they want?
Mhm.
They
Life.
don't. No, it's not. That's for suckers. They want
Okay.
candy, as much candy. So
Oh.
now that I think about it, but I could have been hit by lightning. I could be a large dog. Me and Lolly have the same goals in life: eat as much candy as you can. So her goal is to go through this entire game to get to into basically candy land where she can just gorge herself on candy day and night. That's the goal of the
Mhm.
game. All
Okay,
right.
okay.
Hey, I've heard worse goals. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, um, what she's gonna do is get through many levels to get to this final area. Uh, this is a platform game. Platform. I guess we could call this a platform shooter because Lolly tosses lollipops, hither and yarn, and also can jump around. That's basically what you can do. When you go to the options screen for this game, it gives you the choice about how many dollies, how many men you want to have. It gives you the option of which kind of joystick you want to use. You could also use the keyboard, so it gives you the choice
I
of
wanted to ask you, since
yeah.
we're on the subject, did you notice any difference? I went between the joystick option and they actually have an option for a Sega pad, and
I
they actually
saw
use the
that.
word Sega pad.
Yeah.
I played with both. On neither one was a button available for jump. Did you
No,
notice any difference
I
between the
had the
two options?
exact same experience. I was
Okay,
baffled, and so basically, you're going up for jump unless
right.
do some magical gimmick in this. By the way, if there's a game around that you don't want up for jump on, this is the game. I would much rather have had
Mhm.
the button than up for jump, but it is what it is. Another bafflingly stupid shortcoming of this game is the fact that you can have sound effects or music, but you can't have both. All right. This is 1995, Bode. Okay.
Mhm.
95. I'm going to become you for a minute. This is um, unforgivable, Bode, especially in a game where the choice is so painful. Because I played the levels with the music and with the sound effects, and the sound effects are pretty good. But the music in this is off the freaking charts. It's off the charts, Bode. And so, but I'm the kind of guy that I prefer to have sound effects. You know what I mean? The fact that I've got to choose between the two, as usual, it angered me. So this has got all the trademarks of a game that we're going to instantly hate. It's got up for jump, and it's got sound or music, but you can't have both. Am I
Mhm.
wrong here, Bode?
No,
And
you're
and
dead
and
on.
the shtick with the pad was also baffling. That also angered me because here I am with Genesis pad that I can't do nothing with. So I didn't get that. I will give them credit though that you can use a keyboard. Now this game will let you take up to 7 men. Okay. The funny thing is, if you do that, Once you get to level 3, you can't go any further because it's like,
Well,
yeah,
no worries about that for me.
yeah. Dunk just mentioned something I wanted to bring, and because I don't have an answer for this. Okay, this game, if you look at the documentation, it mentions a 2 meg AGA machine. Okay, which I had, and I don't know what that does. Can you answer? Can you fill this in? Do you have any ideas on this one?
No, I thought that I remembered seeing on Lemon that this was an OCS ECS game.
Yeah.
I don't know if the
No, it
RAM
is.
requirements.
It
Uh,
is, but apparently, maybe you get a boost if you've got AGA.
mhm.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. There were a couple things. Not having any sort of documentation in English didn't help me try to figure this game out because it is a platform shooter, but uh, it's also got other elements in it that I was never quite sure about, and I'm still not sure about them. I'm hoping you know them. Um, so when you go through the game, you have these really long levels. Another one of the things that you love, Boat. You start off this game in like basically like a toy shop for all intents and purposes, and you make your way through it. And the game's got, I think if you count everything, it's got 9 levels you can get through. There are a lot of levels that and have bonus areas or like hidden areas. But I want to talk about, and I'm going to get your initial impressions after I mention this. But the first level of this has you going through this toy area, and much like a lot of games we've played, this game is I thought was difficult, extremely difficult to get very far in. And on top of everything else, I thought the game was really, really a cheap game. It's got crap dropping everywhere and out of sequence stuff. It's difficult to even guide your chick through. There's droplets and fireballs and crap bouncing, and there's no set pattern like you would find, like say a Konami game or something where there's like you could figure out the pattern. It's just you have to avoid this stuff. And I found it just right out of the gate. I found the game difficult, and I found the stuff that you're tangling with like irritating in a non-fun way. What was your first thoughts, Bode?
I think I disagree with you.
Okay.
I found nobody's going to mistake this game for Mega Man. Okay, it's not. This is not a, like you said. It's not a Konami game. It's not a Capcom game. But for in most cases that I found, there's a combination of semi-random and not random events. Like for example, in the toy shop level that we just saw, there are two balls that bounce forward and they come at random times, but then there's two balls that bounce vertically. Your job is to go under those. So this is a game that you have to spend time. It's almost like a it's like a Rick Dangerous game disguised as a mascot platformer. There are a lot of things that you have to discover by trial and error. There are a lot of blind jumps that you just have to figure out what's going on to get to them. But I didn't run into anything, and I played through most of level 2, I want to say. And I didn't find anything that was incredibly cheap and unfair that I just really felt like the game was taking advantage of me. Uh, I was able to progress through this game at a pretty slow clip because of the way that these levels are designed. They actually kind of remind me in a lot of ways of Sonic levels. A lot of the big problem that I have with Sonic is you have this character who's designed to go fast, and the level design is such that it slows you down at every conceivable opportunity. This is a game that is designed to be completed slowly, and it's a game that rewards exploration and requires exploration because to get through the end of these levels, you're not just getting to the end. And it's also not a collect this many of a thing to get to the end, as is so common in the Euro platformer. In this game, you're collecting pieces of a picture, 4 pieces of a picture, and only then, when you collect them and go to the end of the level where you can't scroll any further, will the boss appear and you can defeat the boss. The major problem that I have with this game is that those pieces of the picture are sometimes hidden in a way that makes you backtrack over and over again to get to the pieces that you need. And even when you do backtrack, they're sometimes hidden, and sometimes it can even be just like throwing a piece of candy into an open spot will trigger the treasure chest where the puzzle piece is. Um, I don't like that because I don't like to needlessly backtrack. The game is not respecting your time. But apart from that, apart from the usual, like when you hit one of these treasure chests, there's about 87 billion things that come out of it, and none of which mean anything. Well, some things mean something. There are good power-ups, there are bad power-ups. You can power up your lolly, you can power up your jump. You can also get negative power-ups. There are power-ups that
The
reverse
mirror.
your direction for a
Yeah.
time. What I think is interesting is that, and one thing that I really like about this game is that they have a little info window as part of the HUD that actually spells out what the thing is that you picked up. Man, I wish that was in every game. Because then you're like, okay, this is the thing that makes you go backwards. I want to avoid that in the future. Or this is the thing that powers up your thing. I really like the user interface in this game. Of course, it's your classic hero. Lower third of the screen is totally taken up by the HUD, but it is everything that's there is for a purpose. You see you see how many lives you have, which is indicated by the number of clockwork keys. You also have an energy meter, which is signified by pieces of wrapped candy. Your score, you've got the current power of your lollipops, you've got your timer. There is a timer in this game that will run out. The film thing, I can't
Yeah.
remember what the film
That's
thing is. I
that's
don't know
what I
what
wanted to
that
ask
is.
about. If you hold both buttons, like, okay, so I use the Genesis controller, right? If you hold basically the entry button and the lolly button at the same time, you'll take a picture. All right. I don't know what that does. I was
Mm.
never sure what it did, and I couldn't find anyone else talking about it. So maybe someone knows what it does, but I don't know what it does. Um,
Um, if I could continue with
yeah,
my
go ahead.
critique, um, one thing that I really, really love about this game is that when you spew lollies forth from your person, they go every which way, and you release just this torrential volley of suckers that just cover the earth.
The lolly volley.
I love the sort of over the top nature of the way that you're just casting these lollipops hither and yon, hitting whatever you please. In too many games, you've got a projectile that does not go directly forward, and you're forever trying to line yourself up so you can arc that projectile to hit an enemy. And man, it's very frustrating. There's a game called Magic Pockets that's one of those Bitmap Brothers quote unquote classics that is infuriating to play because of that. This game, you still have you still have the arced projectile, but since you fire these things at such a rate of speed and in so many different angles and directions, you can basically just carpet bomb your enemies into submission. I thought that was really good. Other things that are really good about this game, there's a huge variety of stages, huge variety of enemy types. All of the enemy types are well animated. Like I said, it's a colorful game. This is just as colorful as, oh, remember that game that we played that where you're going behind the scenes and all the different movies?
Oh yeah, that one Brent liked. Yeah, I hated that
Like that,
game.
I'm pretty sure that was AGA. This game looks a billion times better than that. This game looks freaking amazing. Like if you told me this was an AGA game, I would be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. The fact that this was possible on an OCS machine shows you once again how AGA was the biggest singular disappointment in computing history. I mean, talk about broken promises, disappointed dreams, and ultimately it's the thing that killed Commodore.
No,
So,
but Premiere, by the way, is the game. Duncan
Premiere, thank
mentioned
you,
it.
Dom.
Premiere, that's it.
This game does have checkpoints, but like you said, the stages are too long. This game would have served itself so much better had it had, again, we're in 1995. We're a full 6 years out from the Japanese release of Super Mario Brothers 3. The overworld map with many stages that you travel to, that's the way to go with a game like this, because you've already got it set up. You're here Here's a bunch of stages that correspond with this particular environment. Here's an overworld map to show you how close you are to the end. That's all they'd have to do. I like the fact that the game offers you the ability to get more lives at the beginning, but it comes at a cost. I don't mind that. I don't mind not being able to see the whole game if I take the easy way out. At least I'm able to see some of the game, you know? I think this is one of the better Euro platformers I've played. It's one I'd actually go back to and play again with save states, with infinite lives. But that's more than I can say for most of the entries in this genre. I think it ticks all the boxes, and the only thing that holds it back is sort of the same niggling complaints that we have about this genre in general.
Um, I agree with some of what you said. I mean, there's no doubt it's a looker. It's got great sound. I mean, it's a shame
Yeah,
again
the
without.
music, I just want to say again, the music, top 5. This beats
Yeah,
any if you have not played this game, just fire up a Let's Play on YouTube and just listen to the music. It is gorgeous. It is
yeah.
fantastic.
You could tell the guys that put the music together. Like there are tunes in this that remind me of like Donkey Kong Country, and I
Mhm.
say that
Yeah.
'cause, with high praise.
Yeah,
That because
absolutely. That's a
that game's
great
got great
comparison.
music. There's a level in this. I think it's ironically, I think it's the jungle level. And I was like, man, that sounds like straight out of Donkey Kong Country. But there, I mean, and the thing is, like, the different levels have different themes. Like, there's a haunted house level, there's a level where you're in the mines, there's an ice level, and they do a good job. Not only do the various levels have themes, but occasionally when you go to the little like hidden areas, they
They'll
have
have a
their own
separate
theme
track.
too.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
amazing, and I
so
think that this may have something to do with the fact that this is a 5-disc game.
yeah. So yeah, I didn't think about that, Bo, but you might be onto something. And this game does, I really have a mixed feeling about this game. I think it's definitely one I would recommend to play, despite its many, many shortcomings. And that's the problem. It's got so many shortcomings that I can't be like, I can't go bananas over it. I can't get past the music thing. I can't get past the fact that it's the levels are so long. I know you had a different feeling on it, but I think there's just a lot of cheapness in this. Something else I want to mention. You mentioned it just briefly about blind jumps. I will say, Lolly has the ability to pull down. If you pull down the joystick, you can duck and look, and the level will scroll slightly, which is nice. The problem with that is they use that a lot, and that really slows down the gameplay.
Yeah.
Like you said, this game is a real slog. And the thing is, I like to run through a game. I don't like to like necessarily play the game like I'm playing Lost Vikings. I want to go. I want to go in there and
Right.
go crazy. And this is not that kind of game. The lollies as a weapon are okay. You can get like a bunch of lollies. They're okay. You know, they do a good job. But none of the levels, I went through and tried every level because I found a way to go through it and try the levels. And I mean, there are some good looking levels in here. There's some really awesome looking end bosses in this. Each level has its own sort of unique look. It's got its own monsters. I mean, they put a lot of effort into this game. And which makes me sad that it didn't get more notice because I mean, clearly we've played games that didn't have nearly this much effort put into them that are way, way more famous. Let's put it
Mhm.
that way. So, I mean, this is definitely one to check out. It has hidden areas. It's got stuff like you mentioned with the puzzle. I don't like that. I hate that too. I just want to go through a level. I don't want to have to hunt around. There's a ton of backtracking in this game, just like you said, Boat. And every once in a while, I just couldn't find a puzzle piece. I'd have to go look some stuff up, go to YouTube, try to figure out where the sucker's at. And unlike a lot of games we play, you can't just pop on YouTube for a second. Oh, there's where it's at. I mean, you have to sit and watch them play for a
Mhm.
while, before it shows itself. So I spent a lot of time watching this game played too. Um, but with all that said, um, amongst the platforming games that we've played, this one, if you can get used to upward jump, it controls nicely. I mean, that's something else. I mean, this game has a lot of pinpoint jumping, and the timing on some of the stuff. You have to be really very good. I'm not sure some of it you can not take damage. They do have a hit point, situation going, so you don't instantly die. That's also good. It's a mixed. This is the ultimate mixed bag for me. This game. I should mention that again, there was a DOS release. The DOS release looks pretty much just like this game, but has crappier sound. Although the sound is miles and leagues better than what you would have expected on most DOS games back in the day, because the same crew did it, and they also apparently had DOS music demo experience, so they could milk that sound on the on DOS for all it was worth. Boat. Um, I found out that you could actually, apparently, as of this year, this game is available in Steam if that's your cup of tea. So you can also access it that way. Boat. Uh, I had a look. It wasn't easy to find reviews, but I did find some. Um, the people in Lemon gave this a 7.49. Amiga Games gave it a 76. Amiga Joker gave it a 75. Playtime gave it a 68. Here's one I never heard of, called Top Secret, and gave it a 60. So I'm guessing it's a forward one. I would put this somewhere in the, when you look at, we've played a lot of platformers, Boat. When you look at this game, if you look at this like from a distance, take all the foibles I don't like out of it and just boil it down, you've got yourself a pretty solid title here. I mean, I would say this is an upper tier platformer, or at least mid upper tier, just on the basis of the music and the way it looks and the control, the size of it. The other stuff, luckily, a lot of the stuff that's wrong, I don't like about it, you can get past now. I mean, sorta. You can just reprogram your joystick, emulate it. You've got save states anywhere you want. That makes the levels being so long not as irritating. So there's some things you can do to get past that now. So if you were ever going to play a Lollipop, this is probably the era to play it in, where so many advantages are obtained from playing an emulated version of this. Did we get any action on the old Discord, Boatster?
We did. We got quite a few reviews this week. Alien Breeder writes, Lollipop is a mixed bag, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It is a very good looking game, especially for an OCS ECS game. But this highlights why the Amiga game market died in the mid-90s. To have to choose between music and sound effects is just not good. And the issue is not that the Amiga can't do it, it's that the developers had to continue to create for the lowest common denominator, 1 meg in floppy drives or 2 meg for AGA. While the PC market forced users to get hard drives, CDs, and more RAM, the Amiga market remained trapped with those limitations, and that meant things like choosing between music and sound effects or limiting color depth to save resources. Because of this, we end up with a beautiful game that doesn't have sound and music. However, what it does have is pretty fun. The game plays well, even though I was terrible at it. It looks really good, and it is interesting. The levels are a bit hit or miss. Some levels look fantastic, and some look pretty good. Level 1 is moody, colorful, and has fun backgrounds and foregrounds. Others were not as well detailed or used massive amounts of dithering, which just looks messy. Some had backgrounds with cool animations, some should have and didn't. Overall, though, I did have fun in the very short time I stayed alive, so I give it 730 top bananas out of 1,000. And just to clarify, because somebody asked about the top banana scale, the top banana scale, according to Alien Breeder, means the game is that many times better than Top Banana, since Top Banana is the absolute zero of the gaming world.
That's
So
a good scale, Boat.
yeah. Pajako 6502 writes, I'd never heard of this before, and it looks and sounds fantastic, but sadly the gameplay is, well, a Euro platformer. It's slow and plodding, but as an exploration game where damage is lurking with almost every step, slow is a good thing. But for me, there is too much backtracking, too many secret items, including hidden ones, to find some questionable sprite collision, especially on platform jumps. The game reuses sprites to behave differently, so the whole time you end up questioning the game and moving around quite slowly. But hiding pickups that hinder or hurt you in some way in with the stuff that you need is downright BS. Lollipop feels like a more polished version of Magic Pockets. Plus, to give it some extra credit, you can up the number of lives in the settings menu to 7, and I did enjoy some of the game once I got used to it. I reckon if a younger me had received an off-site backup of this, I would have stuck at it a bit longer, but then younger me had way more free time. I only managed to make it to level 2 this week. I initially reached the end of the first level, but nothing happened, and I slowly worked out I needed to collect picture pieces to summon the level boss. But again, this meant backtracking to find keys, puzzle pieces, etc. Take out the cheapness, fix the collision detection, I think you'd have a pretty solid game. 7 out of 10. TechMage writes, for a platformer published in 1995, it's late to that world. I'd not heard of it before, but glad I had a chance to try it. The game is set in a dark and mysterious world, and the player controls a small clockwork girl named Lolly. The game is known for its impressive visuals, detailed physics engine, and challenging gameplay. The game's visuals are dark and atmospheric, but they're also very detailed. The backgrounds are full of intricate details, and the character animations are smooth and fluid. The game's physics engine is also impressive, creating an engaging effect, bringing the levels to life. The game's gameplay is challenging, but it's also fair. The levels are well designed, and the enemies are challenging, but not impossible to defeat. The game also features a variety of power-ups that can help the player progress. However, the game's difficulty can be a hindrance to its playability. Some of the levels are very difficult, and it can be easy to get stuck. The game also does not have a save feature, so players must start from the beginning if they die. Overall, Lollypop is a well-made platform game with impressive visuals and a challenging gameplay. However, the game's difficulty can be a hindrance to its playability. There you have it, Aaron. This week's Discord reviews.
You know, they brought up a lot of good points here. We should probably mention a couple before we take it out. This game has the old password protection gimmick. I mean, not protection, but the level skip.
Yeah,
right
which is
down the
great. That's
level.
another great thing about this
Yeah.
game.
Well, I mean, at least there's something there.
Right.
The funny thing about that is there's a certain password, if you type it in, you have access to a second game. I don't know if you tried this thing.
No.
The second game, remember earlier when I mentioned that one of the authors was credited with a second game here, and the second game was actually it was the developer, Brainbug. They're credited with a game called Candy Hill. That's in this game. If you type in a certain password, you get access to basically think like the old Nintendo handheld games, you know, the famous ones. Picture like an LCD version where you run Lolly between 4 different stops where lollies are kind of coming out of this like big pipe, these 4 different nozzles. You have to catch them, and it's just basically a move back and forth. It actually shows up on an actual, like, it's like someone's playing it. You see the guy's thumbs and stuff. So you're actually playing the guy's game that someone's holding. So you get to see the entire handheld. It's actually cute. I mean, there's not much to the game, but the fact that it's in there is nice. You know, so I thought that was kind of cute addition to it. Again, overall, it's definitely one you should try out. Oh, eBay. I did look this up. I found 1 copy. I mean, that none had been sold recently. I found someone in Germany selling a sealed copy of this boat. If you're interested, get the old checkbook out. This will cost you $2,499 or best offer, boat.
Heyo.
So if anybody wants to make the just German offer, this is one of those things where I think to myself, what if I offered the guy $50? You think he'd be down with that? You know, has any Amiga game ever sold for $2,400 and $99?
Doubtful.
Surely not.
Doubtful.
So, and this ain't going to be the one either. But overall, this is one that if you haven't heard of it, I definitely would dust it off and give her a shot.
Are you a sketchy tech? Do you have the right tools for the job? Have there been incidents? Next time, don't try to fix it yourself. Send your broken Amiga to Retro Rewind. Get a full diagnostic, a reasonable estimate, and the peace of mind knowing that your machine is in the hands of real technicians with decades of experience and cutting-edge repair equipment. Save 10% off your repair with the promo code Amigos10. Thank you to RetroRewind.ca for supporting this episode.
Amiga News.
We're in, boat.
All right, Aaron. It's Amiga News time, and you know what that means. I know you've been aching to figure out the status of Tales of Gorlu 3, Aaron.
I have.
I'm here to tell you good news. It is now available. The 3rd and final chapter is now available on itch.io. Tales of Gorluth, of course, this is a sort of Zelda-ish action role-playing game, maybe something more akin to Secret of Mana than The Legend of Zelda. This is I have not tried this yet because it seems like it's been in beta form for forever, but I guess it is finally ready to go. Looks like there are different versions of this. You can get a version for the 020 or the 030. So if you have an accelerator or just faster Amiga, you can do that. It says that Neil writes on Indie Retro News. He says that he's not sure when the game was first commercially available, but it is new to itch.io. You can buy this thing. It's a bargain. $5.55 centimes, I think, is what they call the cents in euro. Or maybe it's like Deutschmarks or something.
Are you making that up? Centenes? I never knew that. You could say anything to me, I'd buy it. I don't know.
Anyway, it's cheap. Pick it up. It looks cool. I like it, man.
It looks, this looks like your kind of game.
Yeah.
Like when I look at this, it screams like this is a boat game.
You know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be cutting some of that high grass with your sword.
Well, I mean, I hate that. I hate it in Zelda. But listen, this could be. I mean, listen, there's 3 of them. You know, it's going to be gold if they made that many. So.
That's true. That's true.
And $5, take a chance. Hey, you never know. We may be. Oh, they're taking. Looks like they're available for pre-order people. You get extra goodies. But you never know. We may cover this one of these days, Bo. It might be on the list. So
yeah. All right, Aaron. Up next, we hit another arcade port. Well, it's not really arcade port. This is a console port. We don't get a lot of console ports to the Amiga, but NISO Games is working to change that. Their latest release is part of the Scorpion engine, and this is Vigilante. This is a port not of the arcade version, but of the Sega Master System version. Looks like that there is a playable demo is coming soon. This is a preview available on YouTube right now on the NISO Games page. Very similar to like a Kung Fu Master type game. Did you play a lot of Vigilante back in the day?
It looks like a Kung Fu Master got crossed with like Double Dragon or something.
Yeah.
This actually looks like what was that game that we both liked that was out recently with that
Devil's
was sort of
Temple.
Yeah, it looks like that. I was going to ask you, was this out on the NES? Did you play this on there?
No. Vigilante did not appear. This was another, a lot of times what would happen is Data East would snap these arcade titles up.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't publish them on the NES because there were certain limits that you could, Data East as a publisher could only publish so many titles per year on the NES. But of course, for the other consoles, there were no restrictions. So lots of these arcade titles didn't end up coming to the NES, but they came out for everything else, basically.
This looks pretty good, Bode. It says here they've made a lot of progress. I'm just looking at all the stuff that they've added to it. Powered by Erox Scorpion engine, so it might be a fun one, man. Hey, listen, I'm always for ports of stuff to get to try them out. So that one, and it looks like my kind of game too, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And Aaron, next up we have this is something a little hardware news. So you get ready for me to talk about things that I know.
I love it. I can't wait.
This is the A13. I can't even say the name right. The A314. Okay, this is an expansion for the Amiga 500. This is an open source project.
All right.
That is, it's an expansion for the Amiga 500 that goes in the trapdoor. Okay, you attach a Raspberry Pi to this board, and then the Raspberry Pi can communicate to the Amiga through the shared memory. Okay, now you may ask yourself, what do I do with this thing?
Yeah.
The answer is, well, you can do things like play sound samples directly from the Pi into your Amiga. Okay, you can use the video player. Okay, remember how Edvin was showing off that ARG video on his Amiga, that sort of a thing, and and you can use the Ethernet port on the Pi to connect your Amiga to the internet. Does this kind of thing interest you at all, Aaron, or are you lukewarm?
Well, no, it doesn't interest me at all. My days of hooking things up to other things and sticking them in a third thing are going to be the Vectrix. It's going to be the next thing I do. Again, we're very fortunate, Bode, me and you. You don't even realize how fortunate we are. Because number one, we just play games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, we're too dumb to even consider fooling with this crap. Like, someone could say, Bode, here's the thingy that fits into the trapdoor thing. We could install it. Like that, we could get that far. But then when it was time to do stuff with it, we just sit there scratching our heads, like going like, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the functionality is only available through the Amiga shell. So
yeah. And also it says that there's coming soon stuff, in the future. Maybe it'll like do this or that. I mean, listen, I'm not downplaying this thing. I just don't know. Is this thing? Can you buy this, or is it just
No,
make
you
yourself?
can't buy it. You can only make it yourself. So I guess
See,
you
that's
got
us out there too.
you've got the schematics here, the old Gerbers. Whenever people are talking about the Gerbers, I
Man.
just think about the baby food.
That's right. Yeah.
And but anyway, you got your Gerbers. Send them over to PCBWay. Use promo code Neil Rules for that 10% off.
Oh, so you could get some other geeks to print the board up for you.
That's
then.
right. That's
Oh,
right.
that's not the worst idea. We're not doing that, though. But good luck. Hey, I hope it works out. If someone out there in Amigos land gets this thing and plugs it in, does stuff with it, like, drop us a note under the video. Let us know what you're doing or what it does. In fact, just tell me what it does. I'd be happy with just getting that.
And finally, Aaron, we got one more game story coming up. This is really, really impressive. This is a port project of what it has to be a PC game that is in alpha preview mode right now. A game called Robin Hood: Legend of Sherwood. Okay,
All
now
right.
get this. Robin Hood was a game released by Spellbound in 2002
Yeah.
for Pentium PCs. Okay. So what they're doing is they're actually porting in a newer version, which requires a gigahertz Pentium PC. And so, but what they're doing is they're using the Apollo extra juice to power this thing. So, people say, well, what are you doing with this Apollo? Well, let me run, bubble fast. Well, the answer is no, but the Apollo will allow you to run ports of these PC games. And if you look at this thing, I mean, this looks like a legit PC game from the early 2000s. For better or worse, I guess. It's like one of those D&D games,
It's kind of slow. I mean, real slow.
Well, it's
I guess
moving at
starting-
8 frames per. It's an alpha preview. So
Yeah.
maybe
yeah, it
there's
looks
more work to
good.
be done. But listen, I think this is cool. There's a lot of vampire owning people out there that are just kind of, I don't want to say that they regret buying the vampire, but they just sort of, they want more stuff to do with it. And so here you go. Bam. Stuff is happening for the vampire.
So I want to make sure I got this right, Bode. This is coming out, and it's exclusively for people that have the vampire. Like, you
That's
gotta
correct.
have
There's
one.
there's no way this will run on an Amiga without some sort of super acceleration.
I see. Okay. Well, good luck, everybody. I mean, I'm just saying, how many people in the world can play this? Like 100? Maybe let's say 500. That's not that many people. I mean, that's a lot of work. That's what I call dedication. You know what I mean?
It is. It's
like the people that make the stuff for the X5000 or whatever.
Well, it's kind of like the
like,
people that make the vampire. If you're making the vampire, then you're probably going to be making some games for it because you have that mindset. You want people to buy your thing. If you want people to buy your gimmick, why not create a game that only runs with your gimmick?
You got a valid point there, Bode. You should be part of you should be like the spokesman for the Apollo group.
Yeah,
Like you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But when people are like, what about this crappy thing? You're like, no, everything's great, and here's why. You're a sunny guy.
That's going to do it for the Amiga News this week, Aaron. What do we got on the old YouTube channels?
Well, I'm actually we're not gonna. I guess let's just talk about International Computer Club, which was this past Saturday, Bode. It was a happening, Bode, as the luminaries in retro computing and vintage gaming gathered together last Saturday for a slim, trim, tight 4 hours and 15 minutes of joy, conversations, good times. We had a real good turnout, Bode, including yourself.
Yes.
Who did a gimmick there, and a lot of fun. And so that's available right now up on the channel. And also, we did our first ARG Presents with the new set. So if you want to see what me and Brett's our new set in the arcade, when Boat gets back over to start doing Amigos locally, we'll be on that set too. That'll be a lot of fun. It was an amalgamation of Boat's concept with just some, whatever we could throw together. I guess Boat would be the best way to put it. But we got a lot of good happiness about it. I want to talk real quick though, since stuff just came in the mail today. A couple weeks ago, our good buddy Buck Owen sent me a TI 99 boat.
Yes,
which
what
was
a gift!
Nice. Yeah, it was. And so today he sent me a couple extra things for TI. I just want to mention real quick. See this orange thing here for looking
It's
at
like
this.
a penny whistle.
it's a gimmick to put over the joystick adapter. It's a 3D printed deal, and then he also put the deal that goes over the keyboard of the TI. It's like a big thing here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some
yeah.
additional TI stuff, but he also sent me some books, Boat. Now these are some crazy books, man. These are real bizarre. This one here, the Arcade Video Game Encyclopedia, 1970-1976, Boat. This thing's a ring bound. I'm just gonna open it up and let you look what it looks like on the inside here. Look at
Now
that.
that is
Bo.
cool because that's when the real wacky stuff was going down, 70 to 76. There were no rules.
That's not all, Boat. That's not even close to being all. He also sent me the Arcade Video Game Encyclopedia 1977 to 1979.
Oh,
Boat.
man.
I'm gonna open this one up. Another ring bound, and inside full color. Like I don't know where these came from. I really don't know. I haven't just got them in the mail.
Well, back in the day, I used to see these things for sale, and it was basically a dude would make these, okay,
Well,
and he would go to Kinko's, and he would run off, 50 or 100 copies, and then he would sell them. And they're super awesome because they never got wide distribution, but I guarantee you, there's stuff in there you can't find anywhere else.
Well, get this one. It's the final thing he sent us was the Neo Geo SNK Encyclopedia, Boat. Look at these pictures in here. They got full color flyers, and then you've got pictures of all the various games of the Neo Geo, including cabinets, cabinet art, marquees, like lots of information in here. So,
well, we've solved the mystery. Buck Owens was the dude that printed those, and I forgot that he works at a print shop. It's there's a certain percentage of people that are affiliated with this show that hovers around the 75% mark that work at print shops.
Yeah, and I used to do printing. I don't know if that counts. So I think pretty much, Boat, that's all we got. I do want to say upcoming, just as an upcoming schedule, we will be next month is October, Boat. I'll be cranking back up Conversations with the Dark Side. It won't die. I keep resurrecting it. And it'll be back next month. And also in November, we will have wrestling. So that's pretty much the next couple big events for the channel, Boat.
Love it, man. Love it. All right, Aaron, what do we got coming up next week on Amigos?
Oh, yes, it's the King of Chicago. I forgot. There is another big event coming up. We might as well mention it now, Boat. We were contacted by a gentleman who actually commented on one of our videos, and it happens to be the fellow that did King of Chicago. So we're going to review King of Chicago next week, and then the week after, if everything goes right, we're going to do a live video sit-down interview with the guy. I believe his name is Doug Sharp. It's the guy who did this game, Boat. So we're going to get some the inside. He worked for CinemaWare and did this game, or he's agreed to talk to us. He seems like a really nice fellow. And so that should be a lot of fun. I haven't played this one either, Boat. So for CinemaWare games, I used to have played almost all of them. But next week, we'll be getting into King of Chicago, Boat. Should be a lot of fun.
Love it. All right, guys. Thanks as always for listening. Patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you want to support the show and join our Discord community. We will see you all next week for King of Chicago. And until then,
Adios.
Made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos Podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.